Geddy Lee.
I guess if you look at a band like the Grateful Dead, they're really an enormously popular cult band, and I guess in our own way we are the same thing, because our career has been kind of, has ridden along the mainstream as opposed to in the center of it, and we've been able to stay reasonably successful for almost 20 years now, and not be what you'd call a mainstream band. So I guess that does make us a cult band.
Some cult band. Rush has 6 gold and 9 platinum albums to their credit, not counting their current CD counterparts, which seems to be headed for those same heights. I'm Dan Neer, and this is Part 3 of Media America Radio's presentation of Rush. Like almost all of their 20 albums, Rush used a co-producer to augment their own ears. Here's drummer Neil Peart.
We don't need someone to tell us what our instrument should sound like. We don't really need someone to tell us if we're playing it right. Those things we've certainly learned over the years. But we do need someone to judge the holistic part of it, whether all those parts are adding up to what we think they are, because they don't always. And a lot of times we very much believe in a song, but something goes wrong in the interpretive part of it, and it just doesn't add up right in the end, and consequently it doesn't reach the listeners that we hope would get excited about it as much as we.
This is guitarist Alex Lifeson.
We're lucky. We've had an opportunity to do something for 20 years that a lot of people just don't do. I mean, very few people have even lasted as long as a band and still feel like they're viable. And I think that's the thing with us, is I think we look at this album as being just as important as any one of our other albums. And it's not something that we created to keep the momentum of the band going or to make more money or any of those things. It was because we're a band and we like making music, and this is the kind of music we make. And, every once in a while you remember that, and it really makes you feel good.
Showing a little bravado in 1991, that was Rush from Roll the Bones. There's more from that crapshoot coming up on Part 3 of Rush Up Close. Up Close is being brought to you by Greyhound. Go simple, go easy, go Greyhound. And Geddy Lee brings us back up close with Rush.
We want it to be like The Who, or like The Cream, or like those bands, the Yardbirds. Those are the bands that we want it to be like. And you didn't think about duration. You didn't think in terms of time. You just thought in terms of I want it to be popular like them, or I wanted to make great records like them. That's about the only things you thought of. And when you first start, just the idea of making an album, it seems like an impossible thing, Yeah, you can get a band together. Yeah, you can get gigs in high schools, but could you actually ever get to record a record? I mean, this was an impossible dream. And once we recorded a record, it was all kind of fantasy land after that.
17 years to the day after that first album debuted, Rush released Roll the Bones.
The next song I want to talk about is called Heresy. The song asks the question, all those wasted years, all those precious wasted years, who will pay? And from reading what Neil has written about this song, he was saying, he was talking about the fall of all the communist governments in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. That horrible and wonderful moment all mixed into one, when somebody realizes that they've been, had their freedom removed for so many years, and they finally get it back, and it must be such a bittersweet moment, all those years that all those lives that were lost, and all the struggle, all the people that were fighting all those years, and suddenly it's all over. And what do they do about all the people that did not survive and were not lucky enough to be around when the wall fell down? It's an unanswerable question.
Action at the Rush Casino coming up, so lay your bets on the table and prepare to roll them bones. I'm Dan Neer, and you are listening to Rush Up Close. Here to guide us even closer is Neil Peart.
A certain proportion of our audience would be musicians. A certain percentage of them would be thoughtful people. But there's still a lot of people who are not conscious of the elements of a bass player's craft, or a drummer's craft, or a lyricist's craft. And I know for myself, as a young music fan, I never really paid attention to lyrics. If I liked the song, then I might notice the lyrics, but I would never dissect them or anything. So I don't expect that from a listener either. Really, I think a listener can get a holistic sense, or a Rush fan would get a sense of care has been taken here. That's the bottom line, that they know that when it comes even to the album cover, or our T-shirts and tour books, down to the music and the lyrics and the production, every aspect of it we take personal care about. And that's the message that I think, however disengaged the listener is from musical values or lyrical values, they still will know that care has been taken here. There's a sense of quality about all these things, at least, that even if it's never identified in a Rush fan's mind, I think they're certainly aware of that.
1991, that was Roll the Bones. Here's Geddy Lee to take us beyond the Bones to Rush's latest, Counterparts.
What is this thing we just did? I think, Counterparts to me is a restatement of certain elements of the band that we felt were leaving our grip. And I think it's a passionate record, and I think the passion is probably the most important element of the album.
And here's Alex Lifeson to tell us where the passion begins.
For the most part, once Geddy and I sit down together and start jamming together, that's really where most of the stuff comes. No matter how much time I spend at home or he spends at home, it's not until we get there that all the stuff really happens. And we'll pull bits and pieces from those home ideas, but there's an energy that's created between the two of us when we write, and really that's where it takes off from.
We'll be back at the speed of love after this, so hold on to your hearts.
We thought they were essentially evil, and that they raised this imaginary ideal of a perfect relationship which doesn't exist in reality. And that's songs like Cold Fire have to do with, is trying to tell a song about love, not a song of love. And Speed of Love actually and Cold Fire are both the same that way. They're songs about love, about the subject of it. Again, demythologizing, debunking. And in Cold Fire, I have the smart woman telling the guy what love is all about.
Here's Geddy Lee.
My mother tells me that I wanted to be a scientist when I was really young, so I guess she was right in a way. I kind of turned into a scientist, but I prefer to look at Alex as a scientist of the band. But, I don't know. I think when I was a teenager, I wanted to be in a rock band. I wanted to play rock music, and that's it. And I was lucky. It all came true for me. So, fortunately, I haven't had to think of any other options. The fact that we've been able to be a band for this long is tremendously satisfying in itself. I mean, I think really it's something to celebrate, the fact that we've been able to stay together through all various things we've been through, and still have an audience and still be considered contemporary. To me, that's tremendously rewarding, just that fact in itself.
Rush's 20th album in 20 years. The band is currently touring in support of that album, and there's more. Alex Lifeson.
The next tour that we do is going to be more of a retrospective tour. It's our 20th anniversary. We'd like to go out and do an evening with and break up the set, do the first 10 years in chronological order from the first album up to, I guess, Grace Under Pressure. And then take a short intermission and have some film stuff on the band, on the history of the band. I think that a lot of our fans would kind of like to see some candid stuff, and then come back and do the second set from that point up to the present. So it'll be, I think, a really great presentation of the history of the band, of that whole 20-year period. And hopefully it'll be the start of the next 20-year period.
We'd like to thank Ray Daniels and Kim Garner of SRO Management, Danny Bush, Perry Cooper, and Lisa Gray of Atlantic Records, and Benny Bennett of Westbury National Show Systems Limited. Part 3 of Rush Up Close was produced in New York by Near Perfect Productions as an exclusive presentation of Media America Radio. The producers are David Bales and Jim Fahey, assisted by Bruce Simon. The executive producers are DeWitt Nelson and me, Dan Neer.